And probably one of the most important things that we go through over here is the kavanos that have to do with the Amida. And particularly, this piece is called it's called the Avos because the first bracha really contains the ingredients for everything that's going to come after it. Now, let me say this: I was over here on number Kaf Ches, Kaf Hey. Let's go over here. Here's where we were. It's been a while since we've been over here. Let me see if I can move this that way. And let's read the words of the Rav himself. Now, we've been talking about really the phrase Adnis Vasai Tiftach. We talked about the Keho Kodshi Kodshim of Olam Bria. And then this has to be a transition that goes into Olam Atzilus. This takes place in the Amida. So now we're talking about the beginning of the Amida. He says like this. He seferos lo yardo harak achar shenizma'ato hem pa'atzman. So he says the nine spheros we've been talking about. That is, we went through a different. I remember now that we're talking about different understandings of what part of malchus or the malchus of Atzilus goes into bria, and what part of bria, which we had been talking about the Heichel Kachikacha. So he says what part is there's different ways of looking at it. One is that it's only the malchus of the spheros, and there are another way of looking at it. It's only the malchus of Atzilus. So he's like he elu hatesha spheros, which is the nine of the 10. Lo yardu rak ma'atzma. They only go down after they go through a constriction process. Lo yard bechem rak bechinas malchus shebekal sphere mechem. Now he says a third way, a different way, that the malchus of each one of the 10 spheros is the part that goes down. Bechinos malchus, but he's only talking about those from Keser and Lamata. Sheyarda b'olam abriya, they went down to olam abriya. Hem na'asin nekuda katana kolula me'eser kanoida, and they become a small dot. That's what they become. That's the dot that goes down into bria. It has 10 different parts. B'shar bechinos shel teisha spheres nishar of the vukos lamala ach ba'achim zeranpin. Let's translate. He says all of the rest of that is the 9/10 of each sphera that remains. It remains nishara devuka lamalas, clinging or attached up above, in an ach ba'ach position with zeranpin meraglav adachaza from his feet, the bottom of his feet, up to his chest. And when this nekuda now is going to come back as you start to say the birchos avos, achre zer anpin de Atzilus, and apparently onto the back of zer anpin to Atzilus. So this concept of zer anpin being in a position where he's back to back, mischaveres madrega acher madrega, it causes one level of another to join together. Im kol hatesha spheros, with all the other 9 spheros, the naases parts of shalom. Now this, to me, needs help. So we'll find out what the Tiv says. Now this is something that has to be like this. So if it wasn't like this, what is the reason for contracting all of this? That it made itself small into a little dot, and then it went down to Bria. So this would be understood with what is written in other places. Malchus, that is the Malchus of Malchus, Bilvad, that's the only part that goes down of all of the Olamos, Bria, Yitzira, and Nesio, that's the way I think about it. I understand it. These are the words of Chaim Vital. Now, let's go over here in number Kaf Hey, And let's see what the Tiva Kavonos is going to help us out with, because there's a lot of open spaces here. V'nira lo l'marchu l'taretz hakusha shel shnei ma'amarim elo hanirin kasoshim zerazeh. So he wants to come to a solution of the problem of what? It's only the malchus that goes down into Bria, or it's only the malchus of all the 9 spheres, with the exception of all of them go down, and they form themselves into a dot. Mashin is bar b'drash says. So what they're explaining here is Sheyarda the olam of Bria Hatesha spheres the Nook. The 9 spheres of the Nook do go down into Bria. Eina Kavona Sheyarda Kamo Shehem B'Shleimus. I mean, it doesn't mean to say that they go down. That is the whole sphere. Rak Kodim Sheyarda the olam of Bria. So he said, understand this. Before they go down into olam of Bria, they become small, minimized in Olam Atzilus. Below Yared Me'elo Hatesha spheres the Nuk the Olam Abriya. So then these 9 spheres that we're talking about, that's not what goes down in Olam Abriya. Now let's see what does go down. Now let's count up for a second. He says the Nuk has 100 spheros. That is 10 times 10. The Haino Esses sphere should call Echad Mechem Kolula Me'esara. So that's 10 spheros. Each one of them is included in the count of 10. So that's 10 times 10. And all of these specific parts of these spheros shall the Keser Nishara Lamala B'Olam Atzilus. He says all of the parts of Keser do not move. In other words, Keser remains in its position at the high point of Atzilus untouched. So, Mishara Tesha spheros, but from the other 9 spheros, Shel Hanuk, Misaphiras HaChochma, remember, understand that the Nuk is Malchus, right? So he said, the Tesha spheros Shel Hanuk, Misphiras HaChochma ad spheros HaMalchus, that from Chochma going downwards, the Haino of Tishim spheros Pratios, that makes 90 spheros. Yardo the Bria, they go down at the Bria, Rak spheres malchus shalachem, that what goes down from them is only the malchus of the 10 spheros of every sphere. The hainu malchus the chochma, or malchus the bina, or malchus the chesed, so that each one of those 10 spheros is going to have a malchus, and that's the part that's going to go down. Ad malchus the malchus, until it reaches to the malchus of malchus, and all of them are going downwards. So then he said, below Eser Malchus Yardo, Elatesha Bilvad. So it's not 10 that goes down, only 9. Shachab Malchus, the Keser La Yared Klal, because the Malchus of Keser doesn't go down at all. Rakam Malchus Shal Chaba the Chagad 9. It's only that part that goes down. Yardo the Olam Abriya. So if you called it the Keser is going to be up above the Chaba Chagad 9. So let's go on again. Veda Rabatesha Malchus, so these 9 Malchus, Na'asas Nakuda Achas Kulula Ba'eser. It makes itself into one Nakuda, but then Nakuda has 10 parts. Kulula Ba'eser. So he says, so let's go. B'shar B'chinu Shal Hatesha Spheres, the Hainu, Hatesha Spheres Al Yonif, to call sphere of the sphere, that is from Malchus upwards. It would be Malchus Yisod and Hod and Netzah going upward. All of those are not moved. Nishar l'mala v'chatzilus ach ba'achim zer anpen keneged na'ishalom. So they remain back to back with zer anpen because they're part of Malchus. Malchus is back to back with zer anpen. So what's behind zer anpen? That's interesting for other implications that I'm thinking through, but not for here. Nishara l'mala v'chatzilus ach ba'ach im zer anpen keneged nai shalom. So they're back behind the hips downwards, let's say, the lower section of zer anpen. That's where the nukva, he wants to say, that's where the nukva is located, and they stay there. Ahaino b'raglo v'adachaz. That means to say, let's spell it out more. When he says nai, it actually means the chaz alamat. But the sikha, now to wrap this up and try to explain it, this Chadesh Ata Chidish Gadol, he's really telling us something really, really deep. Shemasha Kosa the air, what we said before, the Shayarda the Bria Tasha Spheros, where we said that there were 9 spheres that went down into Bria. Enu called Tasha Spheros. It doesn't mean all the 9 spheros. Rak Tasha Malchus, only the 9 malchus of the 10 spheros. Well, will be of the 9 spheros. Because the Tasha Malchus Na'asim Bebria Nikudachas, and when they reach Bria, they actually become just like one dot. Of this Yashiv, now you have an answer of Masha Hiksha La'el Midrashi Rosh Hashanah, that we had this problem for Rosh Hashanah. Shayara the Bria Rak Nikuda Achas, that over there it says going into Bria is only one dot. This is the dot. Osa Nikuda, so now the dot itself. Coming also Osa Nikuda, so it's Kavan is that Osa Nikuda Chokolulu Ma'atesha Malchus Shayarda the Bria. We're talking here about the Nikuda that has 9 malchus in it. Ola beberchas avo. So this particular aspect that was down below in Olam Bria, the Koche Kadshim of Olam Bria, now when you start the Birchas Avos, it comes back. Avos Olam Atzilus. Now let's see how this goes. Mischaveres Hatesha the Kudas the Nuk, the Hind of Hatesha Malchus, so joins together these 9 malchus that had fallen to Bria, the malchus the called sphere with the rest of the malchus of every sphere, that is the 9/10 of the spheres of malchus that still remain in Etzilus. Hatesha El Yonish B'Shefirus Ahi. V'Ne'asa Hanuk, parts of Shalom, and then this makes the Nuk a complete parts of the 10 spheros, and 10 parts to each spheros shall Eser spheros shall call Sphere Kalula B'Eser. So he said Behechrach Yesh Kan Shnei Devarim. So we have to look at it like this. We have to say there's 2 things here we have to know about. Echad Ku HaMiyut, one is the miyut. Now that's the miyut that he's talking about. He's talking about taking the 9 spheros and taking only a part of the 9 spheros. That means that all that you're talking about is a very small part of each of the 9 spheros going into the bundle. Shemis Mata, they become smaller. Hasviras Batzilus, we're taking it now, we're making this bundle, which is part of Olam Atzilus, into something very small. V'Hasheni, and the second part is, Hu HaYerida Shalom Malchus the Tesha Spheres the Nuk. This is the subject of the context of the Yerida of the 9 of the Malchus, the 9 Malchus of the Spheres the Nuk, Bilvad the Olam Abriya. That's the only part that goes down. Shim Ne'emesh Shakol HaTesha Spheres Chabad Chagadnai the Nuk. So if you say the whole Chabad Chagadnai of the Nuk has been changed, Yordim the Olam Abriya, that the whole thing goes down in Bria, B'Shlei Muso. Lama Nichtav Lashon Miyut V'Yerida. So why do we have a Miyut? There wouldn't be a Miyut. It would be just all the 9 spheres are piling down there. Shemash B'Chav Shnei Devarim, which really implies 2 different things. Elam Muchrach Shakodem Mizma'etes Hainu Sheshar Hatesha Spheres Al Yonas to call Sphera Mehem Nishara Batzilus. All the 9 parts of every sphere that we're counting here remain in Atzilus, behind the Hamamiyot, and only 1/9 of them will be joined into the bundle at the bottom of Atzilus, which will go into Bria. V'achar Yaredis HaMalchus the Olam HaBria. Then after that, all the Malchus go into Bria. That is the Malchus of the Malchus, V'nimsa Shehem Shnei Devarim Miyut V'Yerida. I have to understand something is that the light of Atzilus is very powerful. So for it to penetrate into Olam's Bia, it has to be mismayit. And here he's telling you that. He says you only take a portion of it. So which portion do you take? You take the smallest portion, which is the malchus of it. And that light is what goes into Bria. The possession is boyer ki ha'tesha spheres lo yarda rak malchus shabbatim. So this is what we were saying. That only the malchus go down. V'zecha begam came rak achshenis ma'atach of an as in the kuda katana. This is also talking about when we're just taking a portion of the 9 spheros, just the malchus, and everything then is made into a small dot. Now you can understand what's written in other places. Shebechinas the malchus, shebemalchus. When you talk about the malchus of malchus, he are Yered is bebriya yitzira. That's the part that goes into bebriya yitzira and asiyah. The hakavanahi. So what are we really talking about here? When we say the malchus of the malchus, we're talking about the malchus of the Tesha Sphira. Then the Kuda Katana Zuhi Kalula Matesha Malchus, and it has within it 9 malchus. That's the shir for today. It's a deep look at what's going on over there. Whoops. In ARI Amida. We'll get more as we go along. This is Baruch Fleischman.